Looking for a degree program that rewards you for what you already know? At WGU, all of our bachelor's and master's programs are competency-based, allowing you to progress at your own pace. Washingtonians know how valuable time and money are, and so do we. At WGU, your hard work and experience can help you finish your degree faster and for less. Join a community of driven professionals from across the DMV who are unlocking new career opportunities today. See how your knowledge can give you an edge at wgu.edu.
Good afternoon. We're getting right down to business here, doing it live, doing more at 4 weekday afternoons, right after Guy Benson at 3, and just before the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang at 5. Mottek On Money, we are live on the air, 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com. And yes, the on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, kbc.com, Apple, iTunes, YouTube, all of your favorite podcast platforms. Stocks wrapping up the week with a rally on the better-than-expected jobs report, which came out this morning. Also, a lot of attention focused on what's happening between President Trump and Elon Musk. The S&P 500 is back above 6,000 for the first time since February. The S&P 500 closed higher today by 61 points to exactly 6,000, and that's the highest we've seen since February when the S&P 500 hit a record high of 6144. The Dow today coming in for a closing gain of 443 points, settling at 42,763, and the Nasdaq of 231 at 19,529. Tesla shares that did rebound today as Elon Musk and the president tried to cool tensions, it seems. The head of SpaceX, Elon Musk, backing off his threat to decommission the Dragon spacecraft used by NASA after President Trump threatened his government contracts. The White House tamped down reports of a potential peace call between those two. Tesla shares partially recovering from a 14% wipeout in the previous session, gaining $10.44 today to $295.14. The president also on the trade front said high-level trade talks with China would take place in London starting Monday. Right out of the gate today, the jobs report from the Labor Department, the so-called big enchilada of monthly economic reports, showed more signs of resilience, a better-than-expected report as President Trump's tariffs continue to impact the economy. It turns out the economy added 139,000 jobs in May, more than the 126,000 expected by most economists. The hiring rate slowed and unemployment held flat at 4.2%. What else is happening? Well, we did see Microsoft hitting a fresh record today, and that's taking it above AI chip giant NVIDIA as the largest company in the world. They've traded the top spot this week. NVIDIA stock did move higher today by $1.73 at $141.72. Microsoft also higher and now is back at number one. Coming up later this hour, of course, the ongoing drama in Washington over the so-called Big Beautiful Bill being considered by the U.S. Senate now after it was passed by the House and immediately drew criticism from the former head now of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, Elon Musk, clashing with President Trump on that, setting off an epic social media war of words. I'll discuss the latest with Grover Norquist, president of Americans for Tax Reform, who has a front row seat to all of this in Washington. And the fashion industry still big here in Los Angeles with the Fashion District in the heart of downtown L.A. A lot of creative minds here, and I'll talk about the fashion business and someone here who's specializing in clothing made from bamboo. Yep, bamboo, not just for pandas anymore. Christy Tate, the founder of On-Off Essentials, will be joining us later this hour. But first, on your money, the markets, the economy, and the whole works. Joining us live now, Jonathan Hoenig, Fox News contributor, portfolio manager at Capitalist Pig Hedge Fund, and author of the book Price is Primary: How to Profit with Any Asset in Any Market at Any Time. Jonathan, great to have you with us here to wrap up what's been an epic week here.
Frank, it's great to be with you. And you mentioned Microsoft up an astounding 30% just since April. And, so much of the market's action these days has been dictated, in my opinion, not even so much about what's happening on Wall Street, but really what's happening in Washington. Of course, all the tariff talk and now the talk about the big, beautiful bill, perhaps its implications to the long-term financial health of our country. So lots to talk about, lots of stocks on the move, and lots of news, much of it, as I said, out of D.C., not out of Wall Street.
On the air live with Jonathan Hoenig. It's certainly still a nervous time. It looks like that wall of worry continues to be climbed here for the time being, with mercifully the S&P 500 back above 6,000, the Dow close to 43,000 again, and the Nasdaq at 19.5 or so here. So What's happening here with the market, which is supposed to be forward-looking, right? So what is the market expecting? More good things here and getting through this drama?
Well, I think the biggest risk, for no matter what side of the aisle you're on, Frank, the biggest risk is political risk. President Trump, just in the last couple of weeks, has doubled the tariffs on steel and aluminum, for example. So this has major implications on companies and sectors. What I see working in terms of my work, in terms of being a technical analysis, is a lot of the sectors that aren't so widely covered. For example, platinum and palladium broke out to new 52-week highs this week. A lot of the copper miners are doing very well. A lot of the international stocks and small stocks, I think it's now a good time to get into. So, there are places to make money in this market, but I think it's going to be some of the lesser followed names, perhaps, than the big caps that have led for so long. I'm impressed with Microsoft's new high, but I do think it's probably going to be the small caps much more than big caps where the real money is made this year.
Yep, it is to be noted. Microsoft up $270 to $470.38 a share, and that puts it at the number one spot as the most valuable company. But you're absolutely right. Silver and platinum both have a new shine this week, with silver above $36 an ounce now, 33 cents here at 36.13, and platinum has broken out. Let's take a closer look at platinum here for just a moment. Platinum at $1,176.10, up nearly $40 today. That one has been a sleeper for quite some time, and we've been paying attention to it, right? So when we see moves like this, as you note in your book, it gets attention. Price is primary. What about, and P.S. gold rallied this week as well. So what about gold, silver, and platinum, and where do you see those go from here?
I see them going higher, Frank. I mean, a rising tide lifts all boats. And just as, during the technology boom, many technology stocks got bid, I think it's very much the same thing with commodities as an asset class right now. And it just so happens that the metals are shining and shining bright. Platinum is a real interesting case. It hit its all-time high back in 2008, and that was north of $2,000 a share. So it's still trading at roughly half of its all-time high reached, 14, 15 years ago. So I like platinum, PPLT, palladium as well, PALL, but make it one part of an overall portfolio, whether it's Bitcoin or technology or precious metals. People tend to make it an all or none decision, but I think if you're looking for risk, platinum PPLT is an ideal one to take at these levels because, frankly, Frank, the spending is not being addressed. Elon Musk is absolutely correct in his criticism. This is not a sleek bill that cuts government spending. It expands the debt, expands the deficit. So I'm looking for inflation options, and I think platinum is a good idea at these levels.
All right, let's talk about so-called digital gold for just a second. I know you keep an eye on it, and again, on this show, we talk to the biggest fans as well as the harshest critics and the observers of the crypto space as well. Bitcoin right now hovering at around 104,437, holding up pretty well recently. In fact, hitting record highs recently a couple weeks ago. Ethereum now back down to 2,483, and Doge, as in the meme coin or token at 18 cents here. What about the crypto space here now?
Well, so much of the crypto space, Frank, seems to be completely devoid of use at all. And I think of it when I think of, for example, the so-called meme coins. If that's kind of where you're putting your assets, buy a lottery ticket, you probably have better odds. I've been hearing more and more about the case of Bitcoin as that so-called digital gold. What I still don't understand, Frank, is what is the real world use of Bitcoin? Gold can be used in precious metals, in jewelry. It can be used in technology in terms of fasteners and electrical components. So, I've never really been a big Bitcoin believer, but I have been impressed how well it's held up, even in the year that saw the major market indices at one point down 10, 15%, I've been impressed with how much Bitcoin has held up. So no position in it, but I think you have to be kind of blind to see that it's established a legitimacy from which I think most people thought it would never achieve. So again, if you're a Bitcoin fan, make it one part of the portfolio, though, not the whole part, because I think just as fast as it's ascended, it could descend and stay down for quite some time.
Yeah, a lot more fun when it goes up, and the only really reliable analysis that I've heard, it goes up because it goes up, and it goes down because it goes down, and that's pretty much across
Right,
the
sure.
board for the whole
And
crypto
and,
space.
and I think and that's the thing very quickly is the idea of a Bitcoin as being a currency. I mean, you've still got just a very minor number of people actually making transactions in Bitcoin. So from my perspective, it's a speculation. It's been a good speculation, but I wouldn't be first on my list right now if I was putting new money to work.
And certainly, one other point that's been made about all of this, especially Bitcoin, it's more of not necessarily a alternative currency, but more of a challenge to the banking transfer system, which of course is a very big business for the banks. And when you're able to instantly transfer money, as we are seeing with these crypto platforms, that's certainly something that is noteworthy and good, can be helpful in real estate and other sectors. So we'll certainly have a lot more to talk about as all this evolves under the current administration, which is extremely crypto friendly, and chances are we'll be seeing more of the major banks adopt crypto here. But let's take a look at the Mag 7, which does not include Tesla anymore. Tesla was bounced off for Broadcom, right? But Tesla got a lot of attention this week, given the very big clash of the titans there between President Trump and Elon Musk. Tesla took a big hit yesterday and rebounded slightly today. What about Tesla here?
It's amazing, Frank. It got such a premium bid around the election. The expectation was that, Tesla would benefit from Elon Musk's close connection with the president. Look, I'm sorry to see two grown men, I think, creating infantile and juvenile barbs online. But I do think that Elon Musk's critique of the president's so-called big beautiful bill is spot on, and I respect the fact that he's calling a spade a spade. The president is not cutting spending in this bill. He's growing the debt. He's growing the deficit, and I think that really passes on an unbelievable burden. I mean, already we're spending more on interest on the national debt, Frank, than we are on defense. So this is a real issue that could potentially slow growth, impact the currency. I think we're already seeing that. One of the names I like right now is EWO. It is a basket of Austrian stocks, European stocks, Israeli stocks. I mean, there's so many areas of the world now that are outperforming the U.S., and I think that debt burden has a lot to do with it. So, as I said, I respect Musk for speaking out. I don't know if I'd be a buyer of Tesla at these levels in terms of the stock, just because there is a lot of competition, not just globally, names like BYD in China, but even domestically. There's plenty of domestic EVs. If people really want an EV, which many Americans don't these days, but if people really want an EV, there's plenty of options besides Tesla. So don't think it's a great stock, but I do think it's great that Elon took his Doge work seriously and actually wants to shrink the size of government. It took Reagan in his first term, and it took even a Jimmy Carter in 1978 to slow some of those big spending issues that had been instituted. So that's exactly what we need. We need government to spend less, and I think Elon was brave and right to speak up.
In all this week, we saw oil come off its recent low back to just shy of $65 a barrel all of a sudden. I'm sure that's gotten your attention as well as has the entire energy space with nuclear especially in focus recently with that Meta deal for one of the big nuclear power generators. What about energy here now?
I like oil, Frank. In fact, the way that I would play it is a very simple security. BNO is the ticker symbol. That's Boy Nancy, O as in oil. And this tracks oil prices. This is one very direct play on oil prices, which I do think, as I said, the rising tide will lift prices for oil, prices for agricultural commodities, and precious metals as well. So I like oil, BNO. I think you can also buy that basket of master limited partnerships I like, AMLP. But so many prices, Frank, despite come down to the price of eggs, I do think that inflation is going to continue to stick. And maybe it'll hang around the 2-3%, 4%, but I simply don't think until we get massive cuts of spending in D.C., I just don't think it's going away. So BNO and AMLP, my favorite way to play oil, and I do think the oil prices writ large are going up from here over the next few years.
All right, and you're also watching bond yields, and which we watch too, and apparently in Washington they're watching it very, very closely as the yield on the 10-year note has moved up. There's been some retreat or at least pauses on some of the tariff policies, but this week we saw the yield pull back. Right now, looks like it was popped a little bit higher today, back to 4.51%. And what about bonds here, and what should people know about that?
Well, when I do my screens, Frank, when I screen all the different ETFs and all the different securities, the fixed income securities that are doing the best are those with the shortest maturities. So names like TFLO, which is an ETF of floating rate Treasury securities. And I would be keeping my bond securities very, very short duration right now. I look at that 30-year; it wants 5%. I think 5% actually could become a floor ultimately. And you remember, Frank, a time in which the bond vigilantes really had to teach Washington, D.C. politicians how serious they were about spending. So I do think we'll see a kind of a redo of what happened when the president was out there with tariffs and the president was out there with sparing with spending. You saw bond yield spike. I do think that that's likely to happen again. So I'd be very careful with buying any long-term bonds right now. Keep those maturities short because until they stop spending in D.C., I think we're going to see higher commodity prices and higher yields on government debt.
Getting back to something you mentioned earlier, Israel certainly has a very big tech industry. Tel Aviv is one of the world's great tech centers. I heard you say you like that Israeli ETF. In Austria, what attracts you to the Austrian economy and the markets there?
Underfollowed, underinvested, and price more than anything else. And what's been so fascinating, Frank, is the German market has been in a recession for months now, yet the German stock exchange has been busting out to new all-time highs. Same thing with Austria. I mean, so much of the news is bad, but the price action is good. So, I'm America first and proud of this country. I would never bet against this country, but a lot of areas overseas continuing to outperform. The U.S. market is underperforming global stocks by about 15% this year. So one name I like a lot right now is DFEV. That's D as in David, F as in Frank, EV. And basically, it tracks emerging market value stocks. So it kind of takes two areas that have been very out of favor for quite some time, emerging markets and value, puts them together into one ETF, and it's on the move. New 20-day high. That's usually a bullish sign. DFEV. Do your own due diligence, but I think this is going to be a time to be taking a risk in some of these areas that have been almost forgotten about. They just haven't done well for quite some time. They're on the move, and that's where I'm looking for my clients over at capitalistpig.com.
Very interesting. Any other specific places where you are putting money now and or taking it off the table?
Taking it off with the Mag 7, Frank, great companies, but I think just not where the market's favoring. And in addition to platinum and palladium, I'll add nickel to the mix. NIKL is a very unusual ETF that tracks a basket of international nickel miners, which are also benefiting from some of those higher prices. And also biotech. With all the talk about prices, you've got to hand it to the amazing innovators in this country that continue to come up with great innovations to prolong life, to better our lives. So BBP is one biotech ETF that I'm smelling at. Haven't bought it yet, but biotech's actually been quite strong, and a lot of those small caps are starting to outperform. So widen your horizons this year. There was a great line from that old show, The West Wing. President Bartlett would tell his subordinates to see the whole board, that is, see the whole chessboard. And I think it's the same thing when it comes to our investments this year. Small cap, value, and international, that's where I'm looking for places to make money, and certainly throw commodities into the mix as well.
Very interesting. It's interesting that you mentioned chess. Looks like a three-dimensional chess game is being played, or maybe 80-dimensional chess game with all the trade deals and so many moving parts here now. But, Jonathan, thank you very much for taking the call. And one of our guests recommended popcorn stocks recently, and popcorn as we sit back and watch this drama play out in Washington with the clash of the Titans there between President Trump and Elon Musk. Now, maybe that wasn't such a bad recommendation either. So we wish you a great weekend, Jonathan. Thank you very, very much for that thorough analysis as always here, and look forward to speaking with you again very, very soon, and follow you on social media too. My pleasure. Thank you, Frank. Good evening. Thank you very much. Jonathan Hoenig, Fox News contributor, portfolio manager at Capitalist Pig Hedge Fund, author of the book Price is Primary, How to Profit with Any Asset in Any Market at Any Time. Live with us here, Mottek On Money, 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues, 790 KABC. A winning day for the stock market, winning week for the market too. The Dow 443 points, settling at 42,763. The S&P 500 up 61 to exactly 6,000, popping above 6,000 for the first time since February, and about 144 points below its all-time high. The Nasdaq up 231 points today, settling at 19,529. The yield on the 10-year note is back to 4.51%. The precious metals getting new attention this week, especially silver. Platinum and palladium making big moves. Silver up 33 cents, above $36 an ounce. It's the highest we've seen in about 13 years. Platinum moving higher by nearly $40 at $1,176 and change. And palladium at $1,065, up about $55 today. We saw gold also on the upside this week. The price of gold, of course, hit a record high just in the last month or so. It's just below its all-time high here now, down $44 today at $3,331 an ounce. Crude oil futures also ticking higher this week, just below $65 a barrel now, up $1.40 to $64.77. Checking the cryptos now, we see a Bitcoin hovering around 104,437, Ethereum at 2,483, Doge at 18 cents, and Solana at 148. And now the latest news on 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues here, 790 KABC, this week marked by an epic feud between President Trump and Elon Musk over the big, beautiful bill. That's how this social media war of words started this week. What is the outlook now for the so-called big, beautiful bill being considered by the U.S. Senate after it was passed by the House by just one vote, immediately drawing criticism from the former head of the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, Elon Musk?
Looking for a degree program that rewards you for what you already know? At WGU, all of our bachelor's and master's programs are competency-based, allowing you to progress at your own pace. Washingtonians know how valuable time and money are, and so do we. At WGU, your hard work and experience can help you finish your degree faster and for less. Join a community of driven professionals from across the DMV who are unlocking new career opportunities today. See how your knowledge can give you an edge at wgu.edu.
I am Michael Rosenbaum.
I am Tom Welling.
Welcome to Talkville,
where it's fun to talk about Smallville.
We're going to be talking to sometimes guest stars.
Are you liking the direction Lois is going in?
Yeah, because I'm getting more screen time.
It's good.
But mostly it's just me and Tom remembering.
I think we all feel like there was a scene missing here.
You got me, Tom.
Let's revisit it. Let's look at it. See what we remember.
See what we remember.
I had never been around anything like that before. I mean, it was so fun.
Talkville.
I just had a flashback.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Let's get into it.
Clashing with President Trump, setting off this epic war of words. Let's bring in Grover Norquist now, the president of Americans for Tax Reform, who's a front row seat to all of this, joining us live now from Washington. Grover, thank you very much for taking the call. Take it from the top and give us your reaction to this epic news this week.
Well, it's fun to watch. It's disappointing to see two people trying to get to the same place arguing about how you get there. I completely understand and sympathize with Elon Musk's frustration that when he discovered the amount of fraud and how to look for it, that he was not met by the Washington Post and the New York Times, who, by the way, never figured this out in the last 30 years, never wrote an expose, never cared about government waste. And to the extent they knew about it, they didn't do anything with it. It's embarrassing to them that Elon Musk did this in a matter of weeks. On the other hand, Elon Musk, when he went into Twitter, discovered that 80% of the people who worked at Twitter weren't value added, so he had them go. Well, once he found out that they weren't value added and they weren't useful, he knew they would have to go. Well, he found a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government and kind of assumed that that meant it would be taken care of. Well, that's not the way the House, the Senate, the rules of the House and the Senate work, and there are roadblocks to doing common sense things, such as Democrat filibuster, and also the reconciliation package that we're using can only be used for entitlements. It can't do some of these one-off fights. That's where the rescission bill of $9 billion, which he made possible with his exposés, that's $9 billion that was going to be recycled through the left's structures. That is a huge change. That's like defunding the advocates of big government. $9 billion worth. It's a big, big win. Elon Musk needs a little patience. It takes a while to get to Mars. Even if you're Elon Musk, it takes a while to get the budget down, even if you're Donald Trump.
On the Air Live with Grover Norquist, America's leading taxpayer advocate, who is the president of Americans for Tax Reform. Now, let's go back just a week. It seems like it's been a month or even a year with all this blizzard of news this week. But let's go back. It was just about a week ago, right, where the White House praised Elon Musk for his work at Doge when he hung up the sword there as head of the Department of Government Efficiency. And then Saturday, last Saturday, the president announced on social media that he was pulling the nomination for his first choice to be head of NASA. This guy, Isaac Isaacman, right? A commercial astronaut and founder and CEO of a payment processing company. What about that, which also might have upset Elon Musk, because Isaacman and Musk are friends. What are you picking up there in Washington on that part of the puzzle here?
Yeah, I've been getting calls for the last several days from the establishment press following one rumor after another. One was that this fellow who he thought would be best for NASA would understands why and how much of what used to be run by the government can now be run privately, as Elon Musk has demonstrated with his expertise. And you don't need a bureaucrat who thinks he's running the post office. You need someone who thinks he's FedEx and UPS. On the other hand, somebody, according to the liberal guys in the press, they said, but we understand that the guy he introduced was technically a Democrat, and so that ran into some buzzsaw somewhere else. I don't know if that's true, but it does give you some sense of a lot of times being spent by the establishment press trying to come up with some reason for everything that fits their prejudices. And I just think you're seeing two people who are used to solving problems quickly, being frustrated that they don't, and they respect each other so much that when one slights the other, if I said a nasty word about Elon Musk, he would never notice, right? But the president does, and Elon feels he has to respond. And the president would not care if, I said he was a poopy head, but if Elon Musk criticizes him, even obliquely, it must be responded to. So it is fascinating. I would love to be there during the makeup sex or whatever the equivalent is for bromances. And I think those two are going to be a team again before most people expect it.
All right, exciting drama playing out, and let's see what happens this weekend as we get into it. So as far as the prospects for this bill now in the Senate, is it going to go through or not?
The bill 100% will go through. What's exactly in it is what will take a month and a half to decide. We are seeing an agreement that all the tax cuts that are pro-growth will be made permanent. There's last-minute discussions that the president may revisit his desire to include taking some corporate income taxes down to 15%. And I'm for that because if you take it down for manufacturing today, you're going to have to do it for everybody tomorrow. Normally, I wouldn't like to discriminate from one industry to another, but if to make things fit, you can do it just for some. You know that equity will demand that you do it for everyone, and that is a good step in the right direction. We're going to make the parts that are expensing on business investment and research and development and certain loan payments in business, those will all be made permanent. That is a huge pro-growth part of this bill. And there'll be a compromise on SALT, state and local tax deductibility, higher than what it was before, but maybe not as high as what the House was looking at. I think the idea of having a higher top rate, which was Kamala Harris's idea, and then there are a handful of people in the Trump White House who probably should go get other jobs. Why don't we do that? That was so smart. No, that's what lost the election. That's not smart. It's dumb. But for 30 days, some of the White House staffers were pushing the president to have a higher top marginal tax rate, which he knows kills jobs. And he had to slap it down 3 times, and that was good.
Looking for a degree program that rewards you for what you already know? At WGU, all of our bachelor's and master's programs are competency-based, allowing you to progress at your own pace. Washingtonians know how valuable time and money are, and so do we. At WGU, your hard work and experience can help you finish your degree faster and for less. Join a community of driven professionals from across the DMV who are unlocking new career opportunities today. See how your knowledge can give you an edge at wgu.edu.
Former U.S. Navy SEAL Sean Ryan captures real stories about sacrifice and strength.
We go into this hooch searching for Christ knows what.
Regardless if anybody else does it, will you do it?
There's a lot of things that are hurtful and disturbing.
Can't get anybody to talk about it.
Uncovering truth with the heroes who live to tell it.
There's a saying, there's no atheist in a foxhole.
That was the hardest part for you coming home.
What?
How'd you get through it?
I worked hard.
The Sean Ryan Show.
You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
That he did. Not good that people in the White House ever had a thought like that. But that one, I think, is pretty much, of all the bad, dead ideas, that's a dead one.
Grover Norquist, President of Americans for Tax Reform, will continue to follow this with you. Grover, thank you very much for taking the call live with us here this afternoon.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. And on the job front, a better than expected rating. President Trump's tariffs impacting the economy. But so far on the job front, the U.S. added 139,000 jobs in May, more than the 126,000 expected by most economists. And the nation's unemployment rate held steady at 4.2%. Let's get the latest on your ride now this afternoon here on 790 KABC. Frank Mottek here for United Gold Group. Did you know that for more than 10,000 years, gold has been the greatest store of value and considered a safe haven asset to preserve your wealth? Well, now the U.S. debt at more than $36 trillion and climbing, a possible recession on the horizon, and the development of the digital dollar, central bank digital currency, it's more critical now than ever before to safeguard your assets, such as your cash savings and retirement accounts with physical gold. Opening a gold IRA is one of the best ways to secure your wealth and create a stable financial future. Stop worrying about your retirement in the markets and cash savings in the bank. Feel confident, prepared, and in control with physical gold and your silver. Give my friends at United Gold Group a call right now at 800-753-8534. Mention Mottek, and you get $1,000 worth of silver with a qualifying purchase. Call now, 800-753-8534, or visit UnitedGoldGroup.com. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KABC. Turning now to the fashion business here in Los Angeles, which is really an unsung hero here in the Los Angeles area as far as the economic impact is concerned. The fashion industry, of course, has an illustrious history with the Fashion District located in downtown Los Angeles. Longtime headquarters for the fashion industry, not only for design, but also for manufacturing. A lot of that manufacturing is left, but certainly a lot of the creative minds are still here, including some from Europe and elsewhere. And joining me now is Christy Tott, who is the founder and owner of On Off Essentials, an athleisure clothing brand which is headquartered in Los Angeles. Christy Tott, thank you very much for joining us here on Mottek On Money on 790 KABC.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Frank.
Very interesting. You have a wonderful, interesting life story that brought you here from Europe to the Fashion District. Tell us about that.
So I ended up here about 11 years ago when I discovered this amazing big market, and I wanted to expand my business here. So a lot of my production went to Russia, and I really wanted to get out of the Russia and kind of focus on U.S. market, and then that's how I ended up here. It was about 11 years ago. So that was the beginning of the U.S. market.
Wonderful. So you caught the entrepreneurial bug in Europe, right? And actually were honored by the EY Entrepreneur of the Year organization there, and came here for the American success story.
Yes, that's correct, Frank. So I came here because I had a feeling that I can do more, and the market here is very big, and I knew that when I don't make that step now, then I'm going to regret it when I'm going to be older and I look back and think at why I never tried. And and then I got a lot of good customers from here when I came here, and then the on-off essentials actually got started when I discovered the need on the market, because a lot of people didn't even know what was the bamboo when I came here first, and of course the bamboo was out there, but not the quality what I was making. So, and then people really like that product, so I hope it's going to take off bigger.
There's the magic word bamboo, which is used in clothing, and certainly you hit it right with the athleisure segment, that very popular clothing segment nowadays. Tell us about, and this is something that you were recognized for already some time ago, for your innovation about bamboo clothing.
Yes, so bamboo clothing is actually very good for like undergarment, and very like popular for people who have skin allergies and sensitive skin, and even for little babies. We were doing almost over 100,000 products for premature babies. So because this is the only fabric what they can use when they are premature, because the skin is very fragile. Even regular cotton is too heavy for them. And bamboo they have like so many good benefits. It's like antimicrobial, UV protection. Like when you're cold, it gives you warm. It's like your body, how you say it? Like your body regulates the temperature for that. And it's not just like a fancy t-shirt or fancy tank top. So it's actually a very neat, like, based product, and that's why I've been struggling with my skin allergies for years, and then I realized like my medicine was like literally on my hands. So then I started to wear my own products. So. And it's meant for like underscrubs for doctors, like who wear like 15 hours like these polyester outfits, and then usually you have to put something under. And this is just amazing product for doctors, for like kids, babies. It's really amazing product.
Tell us about your experience in the fashion district here in Los Angeles, and are you getting good support here? And how would you assess the fashion business based here in Los Angeles these days?
I get a lot of support here, and people are very friendly, and I got good connections through the years here, and I'm actually really happy, because when I compare like U.S. market with like some of the European countries, it's the market is more open here, and people are really more helpful than compared to when I go to Finland. It's like it's like Europe is like when you want to sell, you have to take each country separately. So in US, when it takes off, it's going to go everywhere. So I think that's the magic of United States.
Where in Europe are you originally from, and how have the tariff situations affected you?
So now I'm from Estonia. So Estonia is next to Finland and Sweden. I was born in Tallinn, capital. And at the moment, I know that Europe has less tariffs than Vietnam and China, but we don't know, because one day is one news, the other day is another news. So one day I was reading it's going to be 50%, and now I read that maybe it's postponed again a little bit. So time will tell. So,
but that's not stopping you, right? You're going to continue here and going full steam ahead, and so this is a segment that's become very popular here.
Yes, and a lot of people. So what I'm trying to actually expand to the market is that bamboo is very not hard to produce, but it takes time. That's why a lot of like fast fashion companies, they don't want to do that, because like it's actually, when you want to do a good bamboo fabric or bamboo clothing, I always compare that with a good dish. Like if you want to do a good filet mignon, then you have to have a good meat, you have to have a good olive oil, you have to have a right heat, so all those things. So with bamboo is the same thing. You have to have an organic yarn, you have to have a like good water treatment system, like you can't use chemicals. So it's just like every step actually matters to end up with a good fabric. So I think a lot of people just don't want to put their time in it. So because obviously bamboo is not sold more than cotton, because that's what I was thinking, that people just are not very much aware of that product yet.
Bamboo, it's not just for pandas anymore.
Yes.
It's for people too.
Yes, like I have a story. Like I remember we did like a Christmas presents to Norwegian hockey team, like boxers for men, like red boxers, and like months later, their manager reached out to me and said, like, listen, we need more of those boxers because our guys love it.
Well, fantastic, Christy. Great to meet you. And where can people get more information about your product?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Frank. Thank you.
And what is the website there?
It's onoffessentials.com.
Christy Tott, the founder and owner of On Off Essentials, the athleisure clothing brand, which is based here in the Los Angeles area. Christy, thank you very much for joining us here on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC.
Thank you, friend. Thank you.
Former U.S. Navy SEAL Sean Ryan captures real stories about sacrifice and strength.
We go into this hooch searching for Christ knows what.
Regardless if anybody else does it, will you do it?
There's a lot of things that are hurtful and disturbing.
Can't get anybody to talk about it.
Uncovering truth with the heroes who live to tell it.
There's a saying, there's no atheist in a foxhole.
That was the hardest part for you coming home.
What?
How'd you get through it?
I worked hard.
The Sean Ryan Show.
You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.